And one of the top activities this year is to be a refugee for an hour for a rumoured $80,000. Rich delegates crawl like migrants with dark flashing lights to imitate what it's like trying to get to the West. But they shouldn't get too frightened, as it takes place in the luxurious Hilton Hotel, protected from mere mortals by multiple layers of security, police and even troops armed to the teeth. Though some here are wondering aloud if it wouldn't have been better to just give the millions in fees for the so-called refugee run straight direct to the actual desperate refugees themselves. All in all, these masters of the universe here are finding it hard to dodge accusations of hypocrisy, especially when they'll leave the refugee experience for parties where billionaires fight to out-lavish each other.
Trends forecaster Gerald Celente thinks that programs like the refugee experience do nothing to solve the problem.
This is a camp for billionaires, and they're acting like little campers, because these are the kind of people that in the United States they put no bullying zones in school, as though that's going to stop things. And it's cowardly of them as well, because none of them talk about the cause and effect. This is a disgusting spectacle. That is a popular event. How about a popular event of being in a place where your house is bombed and your mother and father are killed? Did they deal with that? This is a disgrace, and it shows you the level of inconsideration, arrogance of these little people with all of this money.
As ever, luxury hotels, fancy dinners, a helicopter pad, the limousines. The participants in Davos are certainly tackling global challenges in style. One five-star hotel said to have had to have tripled its staff ahead of the forum, which will partly focus on tackling economic disparity. Now, to coincide with the opening of this year's forum in Davos, the British charity Oxfam's released a report on the growing gap between the rich and the poor. According to their findings, the 8 richest people in the world now have a wealth equivalent to the poorest half of the global population put together. It's incredible. Anna Arundel, who's Oxfam's inequality policy advisor, joins us now. Anna, good to talk to you. Now, the thing is, whenever we have the Davos Forum, when we have the G7, the G20, there's all this talk about let's tackle poverty, let's deal with it. But 8 people having more wealth than half the planet, it must make you sort of roll your eyes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's disgusting, let's be honest. It's absolutely grotesque. That's 8 people, 8 men, who own the same amount of wealth as 3.6 billion people. That's huge. And at the same time, we've got 1 in 9 going to bed hungry every night. We've got close to 1 billion people who are living on less than $1.9 per day, you know, less than $2 a day. It's completely unacceptable, and the reason why Oxfam cares, you know, other than this just being quite simply wrong, is because it's hindering the fight against poverty. Don't just take our word for it. The World Bank, the IMF have also sounded the alarm that this growing and extreme inequality is holding back the fight against poverty.
Do you expect the people in the five-star hotels in Davos to do anything about it? You've released this report in order to grab their attention.
We have released it to grab their attention. We've released it in order to pressure for action, and we do think they're concerned. I mean, voices across the world and across the political and economic spectrum have voiced their concerns. For example, you know, we've had Obama, the Pope, but also billionaires like Nick Hanauer raising the alarm about this issue, and even the World Economic Forum itself, for the 3rd year in a row, has named inequality as the biggest threat to our security. So we know there's concern. We know also that many analysts have pointed to this rising inequality, this extreme inequality, as one of the causes for the political events that we've seen in the last year, which many in Davos are afraid of and do not know how to deal with. So we do think that there will be concern in Davos, and we think that when people are talking about this issue, they really need to be listening to voices in poor countries, listening to aid organisations and others about solutions.
The concern is probably genuine, and it's definitely being vocalised, but given that the theme is called responsive leadership, do you expect anything concrete to actually happen?
We would absolutely like concrete action from those gathered in Davos, and Oxfam is calling on them this week to be part of the solution to this extreme inequality problem by, for example, ensuring that the corporations that they represent, that they themselves are paying their fair share of tax, to ensure that their employees are earning a fair living wage, to ensure and pressure their governments to invest in public health and education services, all policies which we know go a long way to reducing inequality and poverty.
Right, so they don't have to be great big grand schemes then. These can be step changes in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of countries.
Absolutely. These are common sense policies that the evidence on the ground shows us have big impacts.
I just want to quickly say, what's in it for them, though, the people who can make those changes?
Oh, you know, what's in it for them? A more stable, secure world, a healthy, educated workforce, you know, greater global stability. There's loads in it for them. The dangers of not dealing with this are massive.
Exactly. Underestimating poor but powerless is going to be quite a thing for them. But let's hope your report does the rounds at Davos. Thanks very much, Anna.
Many thanks. Bye.
We're going to take a closer look at an investigation into the alleged financial ties between US President-elect Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in the BBC's latest news documentary. That's after a quick break.